After 10,000 photos, this camera opened a new era for digital cameras, and I will tell you everything about whether it is good or not good, who benefit from it and who it won't help, for those who don't know it. The Sony A7R V is one of Sony's most powerful cameras in terms of resolution and image quality. And honestly, it is a masterpiece. But this is a fantastic camera in terms of the sensor. 61 megapixels is the highest resolution in the world, meaning the photos come out very clear. Also, its autofocus is a new era at this level. Very precise and very stable. The videos it shoots are high quality, but without dialogue. I will present it to you at the end of the episode. A camera for artistic works, the exhibitions. The first thing we talk about is the camera body. The camera design is very comfortable. Of course, this is something Sony is famous for. Its cameras are compact, not like the old bulky ones. The buttons are very easy, and this is one of the things I love most. It is medium weight compared to other cameras. Approximately 723 grams, the amount of buttons and control tools is the best in the whole camera world. Only Sony truly has this capability. 4 dials available that allow you to control everything. Manual control, additional directional control buttons, and buttons for almost every function. And the best part is the ability to customize any dial or any button for any function you want. Everything is open for the user. Also, additional controls for photos, video, and slow motion. Each one can store its settings individually, unrelated to the others in any separate. This will prevent any overlap in the setting. So when you switch it to photography, the setting for still photography will appear. And when you switch it to video, the video settings will appear, which is very important. Also, the ability to assign a button to save the settings you like and always return to them with 3 different scenarios available to you. The body is made of magnesium, high quality, and feels solid. The best part is the tilt screen 3, 2 million pixel resolution, 2 million dots. It combines the styles of the cameras above, which you can use, and at the same time, the video cameras that are 180 degrees, you use it. This is the best screen in the world of cameras, ever, in terms of movement, as Sony placed it in its subsequent cameras, and professional cameras like the A12 and the camera i9. Also, the viewfinder. It has a resolution of 9.5 million dots. That means a rate of 120 per second. It also includes 4 memory slots, 2 card and 2 a very important card. The nicest, a full HDMI port. You don't need to use anything else like that. A microphone port and a separate headphone port, meaning professional work, a Type-C port. Very excellent, because I've been able to charge the camera while it's recording. So the camera can almost work forever as long as it's charging. It doesn't rely solely on its internal battery. You can charge it while it's working. And it has all the additional ports you'd expect in professional cameras. You will find them included. No shortcomings in this regard. Now let's get to the most important part, the image quality, which is the focal point of this camera. The photos produced by this camera are not just pictures, they are works, the technical. So if there's a flaw in the image, it will be a flaw in you, not the camera, because it's of the highest quality sensors available in the world. The details are so clear that you feel you can count the hair of the person in the pictures in front of you. The colors are very vibrant and natural, as if you are seeing the scene in front of you for real. Because with this camera, it's very excellent. It's no surprise given this sensor is the highest in terms of dynamic range in the entire world of cameras. This same sensor is used by Leica in its top cameras, like the M11 and the Q camera. 3. Of course, 61 megapixels is the same sensor. Just imagine that the dynamic range has the same level as medium format cameras like Hasselblad, and this is found on the evaluation website. the sensors. It is important to mention that these images are 14-bit in both cases, meaning they take 14 bits. With the electronic shutter, it gives you 14-bit, and with the mechanical shutter, unlike other cameras that sometimes trick you, meaning they give you only with the mechanical shutter 14-bit, but with the electronic shutter, it will actually increase the number, but it will only give you 12-bit. These are the things one should pay attention to when reading the settings. The difference is double between 12-bit and 14-bit. This camera is correct. Its electronic shutter is limited, but it gives you a full 14-bit image with high resolution, just like the shutter. Mechanical. They produce artistic masterpieces in terms of quality without competition. It also has a multi-image feature that produces a single image with a resolution of 260 megapixels. Of course, this requires software on the computer. You make these images and it assembles them using a special software from Sony. Personally, I haven't used this technology, and unfortunately, I wish the processing happened inside the camera like Panasonic did with the S1. R2 truly means, the camera can do the merging within this image. But in my view, I don't need it. We come to the autofocus. The autofocus in this camera created or opened a new door for the world of focus in cameras. Very fast, very stable, and very accurate, and supported by a special AI chip. Of course, other cameras and even other companies like Canon have started using the same thing. After this camera captures anything that moves, whether it's a human, bird, race car, airplane, or a bird, a train, or even an insect, the camera will be able to focus on them continuously. There is also a feature. Eye tracking is available for the person being filmed and is very precise. Even if the person moves quickly, the eye will stay in focus and be the primary subject. This is not only in photography but also in video, which is crucial for me. I want to use it to film videos, and it continuously focuses wherever I go continuously. This feature also transferred to higher cameras from Sony. Let's talk about video capabilities. This camera is not only for photography. Of course, it is mainly designed for photography, but it's possible to shoot video 8K at 30 frames per second, 4K at 60 frames per second, and HD at 120 frames per second. The videos produced are of very high quality, as if you are watching a cinema film. It can shoot cinematic and all kinds of raw video. You are present. However, this camera is not intended for video. I recommend that you use it in a fixed position, not with panning movements, because the sensor's reading speed is slower than that of other cameras. So if it's stationary video, like we are sitting now, it is 100% excellent. But if it's moving, there are stronger competitors due to speed, sensor reading. Let's talk about battery life. The battery life is excellent for the mirrorless camera, honestly. For instance, during static photography trips, I never needed to charge it mid-shoot. This means it lasts me the whole day. When shooting video, it can last you for up to 3 continuous hours, as I tried it. So, do you need an extra battery? In my opinion, you do, even though I haven't decided to buy one yet, but it does need a battery like this. Also, this camera has an integrated optical image stabilizer in the sensor with strength. 8.5 stops is very excellent. It has almost become the highest standard in professional cameras overall. This camera shoots 10 frames per second mechanically and 6 frames per second electronically. Now let's talk about the pros and cons of this camera, and I'll start with the pros. First, the best camera body among all cameras, really. It's not only Sony, it's very excellent. And especially if you are switching from a DSLR, you will feel a big difference. The best articulating screen actually in the world of screens, and I believe this should become the standard in all types of cameras. The viewfinder is among the top types of viewfinders. The sensor is the heart of this camera. It is the best sensor in the world of full-frame cameras without any competition. Autofocus is, without a doubt, the best of its kind. Very high and supported by artificial intelligence. Storage is excellent with 4 memory slots. It supports modern RAM. The control is really excellent. It makes me unable to use any camera other than one I can control with 3 or 4 dials with the joystick. So it's really excellent. All the ports are there, meaning for the mic, headphones, full HDMI. All the ports I want, USB Type-C with the charger. All the ports I want are complete. Number 9. Because of this specific feature in this camera, due to the high resolution of the camera, it will provide you with a more zoomed in focal length as if you are using an additional lens. By using the DX mode, which crops the sensor, it will give you an image with 26 megapixels. For example, if I'm using 150-500 and set it to 500 in DX mode, the 500 becomes 750 millimeters, giving extra zoom while still providing 26 megapixels. And I feel that this megapixel is very sufficient, so it's like having two cameras in one. The immense resolution of this camera turns any picture into a masterpiece in terms of detail and color depth, and truly there is no dispute at all. First, in terms of quality, the image, but this doesn't mean that it doesn't have drawbacks. I will give you the drawbacks I faced. First, the file sizes are considerable for both video and images. You will need additional hard drives, 2 terabytes, 4 terabytes, just to store the files produced by this camera. For example, a single raw image file from this camera is 128 megabytes. Pixel. The second weakness I see in this camera is the number of frames per second, meaning only 10 in mechanical mode and 10 in what they call compressed RAW. If it were full RAW, it would only take 7 pictures. And if you shoot electronically, only 6 frames per second. For professional work, it's manageable, no problem. I use 10 frames for sports photography and birds. At 10 frames per second, I find it good. But is there something better in this aspect? Yes. Moving on to the third point, which is also related to the electronic shutter. It's not just the number of frames per second that's low, but also the responsiveness and reading speed of this sensor are also slow. Therefore, the electronic shutter is almost useless. If there is any movement from the camera or from people, you will have distortion. When will it be useful to me? Electronic shutter photography. It will be useful for landscape photography, moon photography, star photography. The camera remains completely still and you have a long shutter. That's the main point. Almost only this case will benefit me with the electronic shutter because the sensor reads at approximately 100 milliseconds per second. This is one of the slowest sensors in terms of reading speed. This is well known because it's one of the highest sensors that are needed. That provides high image quality and high dynamic range. So it takes its time, but at the same time, its downside is that its reading is slow. Number 4, this camera has the pre-capture feature. I was hoping it had this. Unfortunately, this camera does not have this technology. Number 5 is very important. This camera has the highest autofocus system in Sony and almost in the world, since Sony is at the top of autofocus. What are the issues I have? In it, you have to specify the autofocus, meaning whether you want it for people, animals, birds, cars, trains, or insects, you have to specify it. Whereas Sony produced in the A1 Mark II system, the autofocus, the camera itself analyzes the scene in front of you and switches to the appropriate system for it. And I wish there was an update for this camera, but Sony is known for not providing such updates. Unfortunately, they give such updates and electronic autofocus changes. I mean, I lost shots like that. For example, one of the shots was when I was doing street photography and I saw a cat in a beautiful place. I mean, it was in Thailand with a group of pillars and there was a cat alone. I mean, it was a very nice scene with the pillars and the cat in the center. Focus. Unfortunately, the camera couldn't autofocus on the cat. What did I do? I used this solution. When I press the screen, even while shooting, I put my finger on the screen. It brings up a small box that I can move with the joystick to any place I want to shoot or to put the focus point on so I don't miss shots like this. So keep that in mind. Only the Sony A7R Mark II has this feature where the camera automatically determines, while Canon has this system. As for the video, I wish there was a video system that even if it was cropped, it would give me 4K at 120 frames per second. True, this sensor reads slowly, so it can't give you that, but if you saw, I did it. The Panasonic A7R Mark II has a system that reduces dynamic range and increases the frame rate. In my opinion, this camera or Sony could have done something like this to give me a special system for the 4. At 4K 120 frames per second or HD 240 frames per second, but less than what you need, you do it. I honestly wish I had something like this. Also, a weak point in this camera is 4K only 60 frames, which is understandable for this type of sensor. The 7th point, and this is like, how do we say, the icing on the cake. The camera does not have a built-in GPS that tags the photos, and almost all cameras lack this. But for example, the Nikon Z9 has this feature, which is nice from them. But Sony also, to some extent, if you use the app on the phone, it'll tag all the photos you download to the phone with the location. So you can add this tag by connecting it to the mobile. But if you forget to connect to the mobile, unfortunately, you'll miss out on this feature. Honestly, after 10,000 photos, am I still impressed with this camera that's priced around $3,500? Of course, I bought it for $3,600. Have I changed my mind? Very frankly, as you know, my friends, I am a huge fan of this camera. The evidence is that I was one of the first photographers to buy it here in the markets, and it has proven its capability through use. After shooting 10,000, a picture with everything a professional photographer who shoots artistically wants. Very high image quality, autofocus, precise and very high quality. Professional videos, small size, it means everything I want in terms of control, in terms of images, storage, connectivity, screen, and usability. Truly worth the money spent. Who is it for? Who is this camera directed to? First, street photographers, portrait photographers, architectural photographers, landscape photographers would surely recognize this camera, or the artistic photographer in general. This camera will be excellent for this type of photography. Which photographers do I not recommend this camera to? 2. The first is the sports photographer due to the presence of cameras. Cheaper and with higher capacity in terms of the number of frames per second. The second type is the wildlife photographer, also due to the existence of cameras with a higher number of frames per second. Also, the second important thing is that this camera does not have the brake, which is the filming. These types of photography, which are sports photography and wildlife photography, I do not recommend the photographer to take this camera because there are options that will be cheaper and more productive. This does not mean it is incapable of capturing images. I have taken wildlife photos and sports shots with it, and nearly all photographers can achieve this because a professional photographer can produce a professional image with any camera, even a film camera. Capturing 1 image per second, they can still create it correctly. I mean, 10 frames per second used to be a dream a few years ago. The highest camera was 6 frames per second, 6.5 frames. 10 years ago, if my friends, after 10,000, I can say that this camera is the dream camera for the artistic photographer. And at a reasonable price, I find it very suitable for its capabilities. And the specifications it has and the type of images it produces, I see them as very high quality. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you have any questions, write them in the comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe for subscribers. My channel is for teaching the art of photography and sharing everything related to this art. Thank you for watching and goodbye. Ah, fuck.